Let's talk about gas. You know, you'll be looking at online porn late at night, you know, and you'll see that guitar and you go, oh, that looks nice. It won't stop. You'll keep thinking about it and you'll eventually work out ways to justify buying it. I didn't need another SG, certainly not a pink one. Hello everyone, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the Guitaristas. So today, we're going to look at a new acquisition, what I have here, and we're going to ask the question, why have I bought another new Gibson? Yeah, if you watch the channel, you know, regularly, you're probably asking that question. Yeah, I give Gibson a little bit of a hard time, don't I? I have a kind of a love-hate relationship with them, I suppose. But I do give them a hard time fairly regularly for, you know, poor QC, high prices, and the way they behave. You know, I'm a little bit cynical about, you know, some of the way they present themselves sometimes, some of their schemes, some of their ridiculously high-priced things, you know what I'm talking about. So why have I bought another one? Yeah, well, I'm gonna talk that through today. What we'll do is we'll have a look at this and we'll talk it through, and we'll try and I'd like to try and get to the bottom of what's going on in here and why I've done it, because what happens is 1 minute you go, oh, I'm done with that. I'm not gonna indulge them anymore. And then the next minute, oh, look what's turned up. So what we'll do, let's look at it. Reason number one, obviously, is in this case. And then what we'll do is we'll do a review of this, whatever's in it. Well, you know, because you saw the thumbnail, but let's pretend you didn't. Whatever's in here, we're going to do a review of it, a deep dive review. And then we'll talk some more about the psychology. I don't know. What's going on in here? Why can't I leave them be? Why can't I just move on? Yeah, let's get stuck in. First, of course, we got to have a look at it, haven't we? What's in the case? What's in the case? I said last week, I'm teasing you. I said last week I was quite excited about this, and I was. I genuinely was very excited about this because it's a shell pink SG. Look at that. It's a shell pink, limited edition. Limited, I can't even speak. A limited edition SG standard. And this is the CME stroke Andertons exclusive with the T-type pickups. And I'm going to remove the lovely soft case and then I'll carry on seamlessly talking about it, okay? Yeah, lovely soft case. Beautiful soft case, this. Can't juggle a guitar and a case, unfortunately, so this is going to be a bit unwieldy, this bit. But I wanted to show you. Lovely case. And Andertons. Yeah, I got this from Andertons. There's the captain. Hello. And on the back, that's their QC. So this has been proper. This has been proper QC'd at Andertons. Well, presumably. He's ticked the boxes anyway. Not the captain. Someone called FC. He's ticked all the boxes. So we'll go through this in fine detail in a bit and we'll see if FC was paying attention. Cool. I just wanted to show you that. Now let's get rid of the case and carry on looking at the guitar. As if by magic I'm back and there's an unencumbered view of this in all its pinkness. It's pink beauty with a lovely taut pickguard as well. So reason number one, why did I buy another Gibson? Because I saw this, because I happened to be on the Andertons website on Tuesday evening it was. I think it was Tuesday evening, just gone. I was on the website, look at SG's, silly thing to do. Well, not normally, because normally you're just bombarded by a load of ridiculously high-priced SGs and some that you think, well, I bought one of them a few years ago for half the cost, so I'm not even going there anymore. But this CM exclusive, interesting, fabulous colour. If you like that sort of thing, I appreciate it's going to divide opinion, and some of you might be feeling a little bit sick by now. But I liked it. I thought, oh wow, look at that, 1,299 English pounds, which is kind of cheap for an SG nowadays, isn't it? So reason number one, price. Oh, that sounds like a decent price for a Gibson, or for a Gibson SG Standard anyway. Number two is an SG, obviously, and number three is shell pink. So it appears they do, or did maybe, this range in a few colours. So this is the one from Anderton's website, the shell pink. As you can see, as of today, it's sold out now. So it's on pre-order. There were 2 in stock last week, but I don't know, they've gone. So, and that's the only one that Anderton's have got, or had. They've got, you know, so they're not listing the olive green one. However, CME, again, out of stock, but that's what that one looks like. And I definitely fancy that. And they've also got a gloss yellow one in stock. And I think that's the only colour that CME have got in stock. And what are they, $1,700 or something? So again, I think it's a few $100 or a few £100 cheaper than a standard SG Standard. So I don't know if it's an old model. I was trying to decipher the serial number. 22, this. So as far as I can tell, isn't it? First and fifth digit, isn't it? 22. I think that's right, isn't it? I'm losing my touch if it's not. So yeah, I don't know if they're making more. Maybe they are. I will say though that looking on the CME website, God, that's dangerous. I'm glad I don't live in the States. I'd have no money. They've got some fabulous looking SGs, SG Juniors, colours, different Gibson custom shop stuff, really expensive. I hate you for that, Gibson. Do it, cheap stuff, you know. This is one of the problems that I have, okay. I hate them for doing it, but I said it in the Telecaster video, didn't I? All the different lovely shiny colours, they're like sweets. I want them all. So I see an SG in a different colour, a lovely white SG or off-white SG Junior, or a yellow, or, oh, I need them all. And anyway, I thought this one was affordable, £12.99 English pounds, so I bought it. Reason number one why I bought another Gibson SG. Let's look at how it's made and if it was worth it. Standard mahogany body, gloss nitrocellulose in shell pink. I've got to say, the finish is fantastic. I would go as far as to say flawless, as opposed to flawed, which is a word I've used often when reviewing Gibsons. No, I don't see any flaws on this at all. The finish looks pretty uniform. I mean, obviously, if it was black, it might be shown different, but it's shell pink. Did I mention that? So it looks pretty good. And that QC thing, it goes, when you start looking at the binding and how it joins the neck there, there's no ridge, which you often get on the Gibsons with binding. You know, there's a tiny bit there actually, tiny little bit there, but and although you can, we'll take strings off in a minute and we'll have a closer look at the frets and the fretboard, but although you can see, I mean, they do manually file that binding back, so you're gonna see marks, but it looks tidily done. What I was gonna what I was thinking was a guitar like this. It's it's a special run, isn't it? It's almost like they put their best people on this one. They go, make sure they don't look shit, guys. Because there's going to be some sort of focus on them. It's not just another standard that anyone could pick up. It's like, oh look, CME and Andertons are going to have their eyes on these, specifically. So yeah, make sure they're not shit, guys. So as far as I can tell on first glance, it's not shit. It's got the well, we'll go through all that in a minute once I take the strings off. What we'll do now immediately is weigh it. It's an SG and it weighs £6, 13 ounces. 3.10 kilos. Yeah. It's an SG. So the neck on this is their slim taper, they call it, don't they? Which I always think sounds slimmer than it actually is. It's a kind of it's quite a nice feeling. It's quite shallow. Well, let's have a look at the neck profile and measurements now on screen so you can see what I'm talking about. Here's the neck profile and measurements on the 1st fret. And here's the neck profile and measurements at the 12th fret. So it's just nice and comfortable, really. It is obviously got this gloss finish. Doesn't feel sticky, this particular one. It feels quite slick. But once you get up to speed, maybe it will start to get a bit sticky. That's just the thing with nitrocellulose. It didn't really ever dry, so it just needs playing a whole lot, I think. But the fingerboard edges got binding. As I said earlier, it's been kind of nicely finished, really. The frets are medium jumbo, cryogenically treated, which what does that mean? That means frozen, doesn't it? Got the binding on the edges, so it's finished. It's finished fine. It's finished fine, and it played. Well, it's been set up by Andertons anyway, but it played great out of the box. Well, actually, I say that the action was a little bit too low for my liking. I like to get me boomer bends going, don't I? So I need a little bit of height to get me purchase. So not being a shredder, I raised it a tiny little bit on the high E side. But tuning was in tune when I unboxed it. I unboxed it on the TV channel last weekend just gone, and I proved it. It was actually bang in tune. So what they say about SGs going out of tune all the time isn't true. This nut is called Tectoid. First time I've actually come across that, and it said, hang on, I made a note, I'm going to have to read it. Tectoid is a low friction material that prevents strings from snagging. So there you go. That nut is Tectoid. It looks like a Gibson nut. It's cut fairly shallow, and we hope that the strings don't snag on it. I use 10s. Do you know, I think this came with 10s, so there shouldn't be any problems when I restring it. But you should watch that. If you get a guitar and it comes with 9s and you put a heavier gauge on, that might be causing issues. So the first thing to look at is always the nut if you're having tuning issues, especially with the Gibson. We've covered that so many times. It's got obviously the small block inlays, which are really nice, and they're quite unique to this model currently. These small block inlays were a kind of a 70s thing, I think. And we'll talk more about that in a minute, because that really ties up with the pickups that they've put in this, which we'll talk about in a second. But these small block acrylic inlays, they're lovely. And what you'll notice, you may have noticed, is it's got one right on the first fret there as well. And people talk often about how SGs have got a really long neck. Well, they haven't got a long neck. I mean, exactly the same scale length as a Les Paul. But because of the way, where the neck joins the body, it feels like really long. And what you'll find, or you might find, if you pick up one of these, is you'll look down there and you'll see that block there, and it gives it almost an extra sense of God being miles away, you know. But it's brilliant, and hopefully I'll show you that later when I play it. The neck access on these is just lovely. Hopefully I'll be able to show you. We'll keep our fingers crossed on that one. So yeah, nuts. That's a nut. That's that. That's that. The tuners are these what they call a vintage style keystone tuners, which are a kind of a Cluson. They're like a larger version of the Cluson original vintage ones. Gibson Deluxe. Nice colour buttons. Standard SG, you know, lovely inlay, Gibson inlay thing, logo. Yeah, next, hardware. So nickel plated hardware, standard Gibson stop tail. This is quite a lightweight. I'm just going to weigh that. It's a nice lightweight 35 grams. Nice piece of kit, that. Yeah. And a Gibson ABR1 style tuner-matic, which will be a standard, yeah, 57 gram thing. Just a standard fare. I'm going to leave that off for a second. Nothing fancy. I mean, I've just got, you know, you've got the metal bushings that go into the body rather than the thumb wheels that screw directly into the wood with the custom shop ones and vintage ones. So it's kind of modern. It's a modern design there. Let's get this out of the way. So onto the pickups and this 70s theme, really. These are called Gibson T-type pickups. And they're a recreation of the original Gibson T-top pickups, which were introduced around about 1968. And they originally replaced the PAFs, I believe, in about 1968. And they differed from the PAFs. They were more uniformly wound. They were wound with a different kind of poly wire, 42 AWG poly wire, I believe. I think that's what, yeah, I'd written it down. I didn't know that, I wrote it down. And the bobbins had they were called T-tops because they had a T stamped on the top of the bobbins. These are covered, so you wouldn't be able to, we can't tell if they've replicated that or not. But yeah, and they were a 70s thing, and that's why it sort of ties up with this small block inlays, because that was something that they used in the 70s as well on SGs. Certainly, I don't know if they used that kind of thing on Les Pauls as well. So it's kind of got a 70s vibe about this. And these T-types are recreations of those T-tops, exclusive to this guitar, we are told, which is very exciting. And they're a kind of a vintagey pickup, around about 7.5K allegedly. So let's take some readings on these and see if that's true or not. We'll start on the bridge. All controls on 10. Yeah, let's have a look. It's 7. Ooh, 7. It's quite cold in here. Maybe the temperature has a part to play. 7K, and the inductance is 3.66. Let's try the neck pickup. 7.06K. Yeah. And the inductance there is 3.65. And the middle reading, because we can, is 3.51 kilo ohms. Now that's interesting, because everything I've read about these in the last couple of hours, 24 hours, says that they're around about 7.5K, 7.7K, very consistent. So these are consistently lower. We've got another reading, 7.06 on the neck and 7 on the bridge. It's interesting, if you're interested in that sort of thing, I suppose. Anyway, there you go. So let's have a look underneath them anyway and see what that tells us. Right. Firstly, I'm just going to remove the pick guard. Not that I expected to find anything underneath. I didn't, but I thought, well, let's remove it anyway. So we have. You can see just the way the paint's chipped. And they screw it in all its pinkness. Now, oh yeah, and this little, there you go, that's that little, tenon guard, gap plastic. I don't know what it's called. Now, what I'm going to do is with my cloth, be a little bit more careful today, because there have been comments on how I abuse guitars by throwing stuff around pickups and stuff on top of them. And I'm definitely guilty of that. I kind of, I don't treat my guitars right often. I kind of like it when you break a guitar in by just doing what you do with it, by playing it. And if you mark it and if you ding it, you know what it's like, you know. You're not afraid to play it after that as it gets a few marks on it. And I suppose that's why I'm not more careful when I'm doing stuff like this. But I do know it annoys a lot of you, so I'm going to try and be a little bit more careful. Let's see if I've got any slack. Not from you, from the pickup wire. Let's have a look. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, it's stiff. Oh, yeah. Yep, there's enough slack to do that. Flip it. There you go. And I'll just zoom down on that camera. It's nice and pink and bright, so you can see what's going on in there, can't you? You can see the neck tenon goes to there, and it's very pink. And let's get the other pickup as well first before we start commenting. Oh, they are a snug fit. Well, I've never had that before. I've never had a pickup that's been that snug. Yeah, that was just a little bit stuck, so I had to, well, I used the screws just to raise the pickup up, the height a little bit, so I'm going to have to remember to screw that back down. There's a little chip on the edge. I hope that's not showing now. Yeah, might be all right. Anyway. There you go. That might happen if you take your pickups out, guys. So they've got Rhythm T. Oh, that confirms the date as well, 21st of the 11th, 22. So late 22 this was, or the pickups were made anyway. And lead T. What's interesting is that it's got these pattern applied for stickers on. I'm not sure if that's vintage correct, because I read that they were patent number stickers, pickups, and they had that patent number on the back, the T-tops. But anyway, yeah, it's nitpicking really, isn't it? Because they're not T-tops anyway. They're a recreation. The readings are a lot less than they're meant to. Anyway, that's why we do this, isn't it? To find out this stuff. I'm a little bit annoyed about that. I wonder if that was there before and it was just covered up. When I screw that back, hopefully that'll be covered up. After saying about I don't mind, you know, knocking my guitars around a little bit, I don't want that to show, ruin its lovely pinkness. Let's put them back in and then we'll look in the control cavity. There you go. Braided wires. That's what that looks like. Right, so here's the thing. The pickup, the bridge pickup is really, really tight in the slot. I had difficulty getting it out and it won't go back in. It's just really, really tight. It's just where it's been. Well, look, you can see it's wax potted this. I didn't think they were, but this is wax potted clearly. And it's like bursting out a little bit. And it's too wide. It's too wide. So they obviously crammed that in there in the first place. What I am going to do, what I'm going to have to do, is try and I'm just going to take a little bit of the paint off of this side in the cavity to give it a bit of so it goes in. Here we go. Well, yeah, I'm cracking my pink paint a little bit more. It's not good. That's not good. That's going to show now. Okay, I think I've just created enough room that's gone in. I'm a bit pissed about that. What can you do? I'll be more careful. Oh well. Plastic's coming off the guard. Let's have a look in the control cavity now. Here we go. Gibson 500k pots. Orange drop capacitors. They're 0.22. And that's how they're wired. Centre lug of the tone to the back of the tone. Yeah. Three-way switch. That's it. That's all there is to see. So yeah, all hand wired basically. Right. So let's put some strings on it. Plug it in. See what it sounds like. See you in a minute. New set of Ernie Ball regular slinkies, and it sounds like this, unplugged. And plugged in today, same rig as always, Princeton 65. On the board, now I normally use a little bit of compression with me CS3, but I'm not going to today because I just sort of did a little test and it sounded pretty good. As it was, these pickups sound great. But I've got on spark booster because they seem to work nice with pushing the SGs a little bit further over the edge of the cliff, you know. And I've got the rat on as well because I really like it. And later on, if we have a bit of a wig out, I shall use that. But you'll see, you know, via Crocscam, as always, what I'm stepping on. All right, so let's have a muck around and see what it sounds like plugged in. Here we go. I'll just back off the pups a little bit to like, what, 7 or 8. That's the bridge, obviously, and then if we dime it, neck, that's rolled off. It's quite a bit woolly rolled off, isn't it? Together, roll off. That's really good. That worked all the way through the range. Still going, right down at 1, that's good. Very good. And the tones. There you go. It's a great guitar. There's no doubt about that. I really enjoyed playing it. I really enjoyed the sound. It's nice to be playing an SG again. I'm kind of out of the habit of it actually, because I don't have many. I've got lots of SGs, but I don't get a chance to play them very often because I'm always playing something else to film for you guys. So, whereas I used to sit, I'm just used to play SGs at home all the time before I started the channel. Now, it's a rare treat. It takes me a while to adjust again. And what I find is because I've got all this neck access, I'm trying to use it. And I'm out of practice, to be honest with you. But it's all right, hopefully. But I thought it sounded good. I like these pickups. I do like these pickups. Quite vintagey. Got quite a voice of their own, I felt. The neck, a little bit dark, but it's got something going on. It's got something nice going on. And the bridge, it's got all that bite. And again, using an SG through the rig, having been quite lately, all pretty much single coils for a while. I can't think that far back, but a lot of single coils lately, a lot of Telecasters, Dynasonics last week. They push it that further, they push it further. And you know, the readings, you saw the readings, they're like 7K these. So that idea that, you know, a high reading on the kilo ohms equates to output, it doesn't work, does it? There's more to it than that, obviously. So yeah, I like these. And QC was great. It was great. There was nothing wrong with it. I mean, obviously, I ruined it a little bit by by taking the pickups. The only thing was that the pickups were tight in their sockets. But most people don't take them out, do they? Well, I suppose they do if they're going to change them. But anyway, they were tight, and I chipped the lovely shell pink paintwork a little bit, getting them out. But there you go. I think that's the only thing I can criticise on it. The controls are great. Top marks. Obviously, all the fretwork, great. Nothing wrong with it. Now, let's talk about gas. Gas is, I call it guitar addiction syndrome. Many people call it gear acquisition syndrome. You call it what you like. It means the same thing. It means we love gear, this kind of gear, guitars, amps, pedals, whatever it is, your particular thing. We love it. We can't get enough of it. And it's a bit of a problem, or it can become a bit of a problem, only really, well, financially perhaps, space-wise perhaps, and maybe it can impact some relationships, I'm told. I'm quite lucky, well, certainly since I started a YouTube channel, I don't have such a problem because obviously I've got an excuse, and, if a guitar is arriving on a very regular basis these days, it's because of my job. And it's because this has become a job for me. So I'm very lucky. Some of you might not be, and you're still having to hide your guitars under your beds and hide your credit card statements and stuff. But it's all fine, right? Because it's healthy. And that's the point I'm making. It's a healthy addiction, this, okay? So don't feel bad about it. And gas works two ways, doesn't it? The first way is you'll see a guitar, you'll be looking at online porn late at night, and you'll see that guitar and you go, oh, that looks nice. And you shouldn't really buy it. You don't need another guitar. You can't really afford it perhaps, or whatever. So you'll spend a while thinking, oh, well, I can't afford that or whatever. But it won't stop. You'll keep thinking about it, and you'll eventually work out ways to justify buying it. And the other way it works is you kind of already have a reason to treat yourself. That's in the back of your mind. And that's what happened with this just recently, just this year. I've sold some guitars. I've sold some high value guitars. There's a couple of films, or there's one particular film on the channel telling that story. I sold 5 guitars in the space of a couple of weeks. I bought some stuff for the channel. I bought lots of Telecasters lately and some other bits and pieces. But it was always in the back of my mind that I deserved what I call a guilty pleasure. It's a guitar that I'm buying for me. There's no rhyme or reason to it necessarily. I didn't buy it specifically because I thought you guys would want to see it reviewed. I mean, I know you will, but it's not like part of any plan. I need more Telecasters. I need this. I need that. I didn't need another SG. Certainly not a pink one. So, but because I had that in my back of my mind that I could. Point of this is Gibson weren't even on the radar. I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I could get myself something special, not expensive special, but something, well, they call this a mid-price point guitar now, apparently. Apparently £1,200-ish is mid-price point. So Epiphone have just entered the mid-price point range, guys, this week with the Explorer and the Flying V. How do you feel about that? We'll talk about that another time. Anyway, I'm thinking, around about this price. I'm thinking, quite fancy that Eastman SB56 gold top with the P90s. Looking at various things. Gibson weren't even on the radar until I'm on Anderton's website late one night, searching through porn. You shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it. You shouldn't be looking at that stuff late at night. Stuff can happen. And I saw this. And you know, what, 12 hours later, I'd clicked buy. I didn't buy it straight away. I bought it the next morning. But so literally, I was strong for the time it took me to log off, go to sleep, and the minute I woke up, pretty much, you know, I'd probably clean my teeth first, and then I bought it because I thought, nah, I should have that. That's how it works, isn't it? What can we do? So I accept that I'm a guitar addict. I've got an obsessive personality. Currently, I'm into filmmaking and work and filmmaking. This is a big obsession of mine. Guitars and motorbikes. I've managed to combine two of my obsessions, which is brilliant. And if I had time to start a motorcycle channel, believe me, I would. But I accept it. You know, it's a benign addiction, if you like, obsession. You know, I've led quite a life and I've been into worse things. So I know this isn't doing me any harm. You know, sometimes I have to juggle the numbers quite a bit, but I can always sell a guitar if I need to. That's the way I look at it, or a motorbike, you know. So, you know, I'm not harming anyone, but my bank balance, you know. So that's why I do it. And you know, and if you're the same, yeah, just don't feel bad about it. It's what we do, isn't it? Some people collect stamps, expensive stamps, probably, or other things. Not a good example, is it? But you know what I mean. People do different things. People spend money they haven't got on other things, flash cars, clothes. Oh, I clearly don't do that. All my money. Someone said in the comments recently, it's funny, you've got, what, a dozen SGs and one shirt, which is not actually true because I've got two shirts. Right, look, I need to wrap this up because I've been rambling like buggery in this one, haven't I? It's going to be a long one. I hope you had a picnic today. Where am I? That. It's the thing about Gibson, isn't it? It's my Gibson problem, really. Why do I keep going back to them? It's just they're in my blood from a young age, I suppose. That when I started playing guitar, my heroes played Gibsons. I was probably watching Jimmy Page, you know, when they released Song Remains the Same, and SGs was always Frank Zappa because I was always into Frank Zappa and Steve Hillage, who used to play an SG way back then. These influenced me, and I had an Aria Pro 2 Les Paul, a Japanese one, before I bought my first Gibson. That was in 1978. That was a proper one. I wish I hadn't sold that. And then I got a Gibson SG, so I suppose, and the SG's always been the thing, you know. It's what turns me on. Gibson SGs in particular, Telecasters to a slightly lesser extent, they're the main drugs for me these days. And whatever Gibson do to try and put me off, it didn't seem to be working. I've just got to mention this because I just got an email because I'm on their mailing list. What do they call themselves? The Gibson Certified Vintage Program. They've just launched. So basically now Gibson are now selling second-hand guitars. So I bet Norm's happy about that. Anyway, in spite of all this, it doesn't seem to stop me. So, why did I buy another Gibson? Well, turns out I had gas. I saw this. It was a bargain. It's a Gibson SG. And it's shell pink. So that's all for this week then. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for indulging me and talking it through with me. It's been a real help, I think. Yeah, I feel like I've got it under control now. Yeah, it's not a problem, is it? Come back next week though, because I've got something else to show you. Something I think you might want to see. So yeah, here next week, same time, same place, and See what I bought now. I look forward to it. Ta-ra for now. Cheers.